If you're listening, tap like and tell me your city in the comments. It's a second for you and it helps this channel grow. The printer chirped. The sticker slid out, visitor with the wrong last name beside mine. I'm Nora Whitfield. 47. Savannah. I balance ledgers 2 nights a week. Numbers don't lie and neither do dates. My sister opened the case slowly. The necklace flashed on her neck, not mine. The attorney said, signing in 1 hour. In 60 minutes someone will call this a done deal. The assistant said, Nora Whitfield? I said, here. Mother said, family section is inside. No scenes. Father said, partners are waiting. I shot the glass in my badge. First timestamp, 10:42. If they sign today, my name vanishes from the document and from the lake house. A coffee urn steamed. Mint sweated sugar. The room smelled like paper and syrup. The badge edge tugged my wrist like a name you can peel off. Father nudged the door with his elbow and nodded past me to the attorney. Mother set her palm on the case and moved my hand away. Mother said, it's for the brand, not for feelings. I said, it's my grandmother's promise. Sister said, Mom, it sits perfectly. The latch clicked. The attorney pushed the tablet. He said, confirm wording. Transfers immediately. Mother said, as it should. Father said, keep the succession phrasing. In the pain, the necklace replaced my face. Second timestamp, 10:58. The assistant set water down. She said, want to go in? I said, today I'm just visitor. Midweek, an envelope with no return address will land on my mat. My phone buzzed. The bank said, attempted access to safe deposit box. I replied, no, and added the section and the clerk's name to my note. I opened Whitfield Archive, a 1957 postmark, to be kept by the eldest, the same looped letter as on the lake house photo. A notarized copy under a clear sleeve. Blue seal. Earlier date. I said quietly, threats fade. Paper doesn't. The attorney looked toward the hall. He said, now the heir's last name. Mother turned to the light like a brochure. Mother said, cleaner for the brand. He said, heir's last name Whitfield Pierce. I said, I'm Whitfield. No Pierce. Mother said, it looks better in reports. I said, there are no reports on a headstone. Sister touched the latch. The latch clicked. I typed, name distorted. Witnesses in the room. 30 minutes from now a latch will click, and a hand will stop. The door to conference A cracked. The attorney said, wording ready. Proceed to signature. Father said, it's time. Mother reached for the tablet. I stepped to the counter. I said, 1 minute. I set down the notarized copy. Correct last name, earlier date, blue seal, witness signature. Camera clicked. Final timestamp, 11:12. Mother whispered, where did you get that? I said, where paper lies flat and speaks louder than people. He scrolled and froze. He said, yours is earlier. Father said, we'll fix it. I said, it changes the owner. The assistant asked, call the senior partner? Mother straightened. She said, no pauses. The attorney traced the surname line and frowned. The case clicked dry. The tablet shut on its magnet. Cold thought, today I'm visitor. Colder. Tomorrow the document will name who doesn't belong. The elevator dinged. The senior partner arrived. He looked at the tablet first, not at me. The assistant slid the sign from Conference A to Conference B. Mother stepped closer, already mid-sentence. Mother said, we're aligning the brand. Clean lines. One voice. Father offered a hand like a contract. Sister held the case steady, chin lifted for light. The necklace caught the light. I stayed at the counter. My badge still read visitor. The air thinned. Mr. Cole read the seal on my copy. Mr. Cole said, earlier date. Witnessed. Blue emboss matches county records. Mother said, we can update. Family consensus is clear. I said, consensus without the eldest isn't family. Sister touched the latch. The latch clicked. In 20 minutes, a document will pick a side. Mr. Cole asked for the printer log. Paper rolled. The thermal strip curled like a receipt. He traced times and stopped at 10:58. Mr. Cole said, "Is that when you photographed the pain?" I said, "Yes." "And when the name changed on the tablet?" "I stuck on me," Mother said. "We're not changing the name. We're clarifying it." I said, "Clean for reports. Dirty for graves." Father's shoe tapped the threshold. Sister lifted her phone for a story. I said, "Tag me, Mara. Spell the last name right." The light cooled. The assistant slid a clipboard. She said, "Initial here to add your copy to the file." I said, "Add it. Staple on top." Mr. Cole didn't smile or frown. He just watched. I set down a second sheet, grandmother's note in her looped hand. I said quietly, "Threats fade. Paper doesn't." He read once, then again slower. Mr. Cole said, "To be kept by the eldest." Mother said, "She meant emotional custody, not legal." I said, "She meant exactly this." Father said, "We can settle privately." Silence cracked. Mr. Cole said, "Room B." The assistant opened the door. The badge printer rattled and warmed. Mr. Cole said, "Both copies on the table. Phones down. 3 witnesses." Sister lowered her camera, tucking the case under her arm. The necklace rested there. Mother's hand covered the velvet. Fast, possessive. We moved to room B. Carpet instead of linoleum. Condensation rings on coasters. The speaker light glowed red, muted line. Father stood behind Mother's chair, close enough to steer it. I took the far seat and squared my badge word side up. The assistant brought a fresh Starbucks pot. Steam rose like a signal no one wanted to admit seeing. She whispered, "Sugar." I said, "No, just time." She nodded like she'd heard it before. The light cooled again. Mr. Cole said, "We'll read each line aloud." He set my notarized copy on top. Mother said, "That's not the operative draft." Mr. Cole said, "Today it is." Sister's thumb felt for the latch. The latch clicked. I slid a small envelope across the table. Lake house photo, grandmother's open palm. On the back, date, location, witness name in my hand. Mr. Cole tapped the witness line. Mr. Cole said, "Same name that countersigned the county file." I stuck on Mother. Mother said, "We're wasting our guests' time." Father said, "We appreciate your guidance." I said, "Guidance is simple. Earlier date controls." Mr. Cole said, "Entered in the record." Sister shifted the case, the velvet hissed. Midweek, an envelope with no return address will land on my mat. Mother exhaled through her nose. A fogged oval on the pane. She wiped it neat and quick. Mother said, "Nora is being dramatic." I said, "You called me visitor." Mr. Cole said, "We correct that now." The printer spat a new label. The assistant peeled it and held it above my wrist. She said, "Ready?" I said, "Say the name first." She said, "Nora Whitfield." She pressed it down. Plastic answered louder than crystal. Mr. Cole flipped to the symbol clause. Mr. Cole read, "Custody of the family necklace." Mother said, "Assigned to the brand custodian. Mr. Cole finished, "Kept by the eldest as attached." Sister's mouth opened, then closed. The air thinned. Father said, "We'll need to review marketing implications." I said, "A symbol isn't a logo. A symbol is a promise." Mr. Cole placed the pen in front of Mother. Mr. Cole said, "Sign acknowledging the attachment governs." The pen didn't move. 2 minutes from now someone will blink and lose ground. Mother tried another door, sweet tone, hard edge. Mother said, "Nora, don't punish your sister because you're sensitive." I said, "I'm accurate." Sister said, "Mom." Mr. Cole said, "Please sign Elaine." The case shifted as Mother reached for the pen. Sister steadied it. The latch waited under her thumb. I slid my phone closer to the table's edge, screen dim. The assistant watched the pen. Father watched me. The speaker light stayed red. I said quietly, "Threats fade. Paper doesn't." Mother signed in a single stroke, sharp as a cut. Mr. Cole countersigned and dated the attachment. Mr. Cole said, "File both. Stamp the minute." The assistant stamped one clean knock. Sister's thumb twitched on the latch. Click. The stamp knocked again, firm as a gavel. Cold thought, their brand has a tone. Colder, my paper has a voice and it just spoke. Sunday brunch crowd, clatter and chatter. Hostess stand, a neat row of buzzers. Mother waved the manager over like staff. The country club smelled like maple and polish. A chalkboard by the omelet bar read members only. Father signed the check-in book with a heavy pen. Sister angled her chair to the window and set the velvet on the linen. The necklace rested there. I waited by the podium. My badge read guest this time, not visitor. The air thinned. Mother said, "Table for 4, Whitfield." The manager said, "Of course, Ms. Whitfield." He looked at me. "And your guest?" Mother said, "She's with us for now." I said, "I'm Whitfield." "No, for now." Sister touched the latch. The latch clicked. Before noon a caption will change, and no one will admit it. A server poured coffee into thick cups. Father's cuff knocked a spoon. It rang like a bell. Mother folded her napkin into a perfect triangle. Sister raised her phone. Instagram opened by habit. I said, "Tag me, Mara. Spell the last name right." Mother said, "We're celebrating unity." I said, "We're filing accuracy." Father said, "This is not the place, Nora." I said, "You chose public last week." The manager cleared 2 extra chairs, clean, efficient. Sister lifted the necklace to the light. She said, "One photo, then we eat." Mother said, "Smile like a brand." I took an envelope from my tote, county stamp, date circled. I said, "Attachment governs. Eldest keeps the symbol." Silence cracked. Mother said, "You would really ruin brunch?" I said, "I'm correcting a caption." Father's jaw set. He reached for bread he doesn't eat. The manager hovered, pretending to straighten silverware. The server set down a short stack with 3 butter chips. I slid a photocopy across the linen blue seal, today's minute stamp. Sister's phone stayed midair. The red record dot held steady. She said, "Mom." Mother said, "Lower it." Sister lowered it. The latch kissed velvet. The necklace settled. In 3 days a lock will turn and a car will idle by the gate. Father tried warmth he saves for donors. Father said, "We'll do right by you." Discreetly. I said, "Do right on paper." Mother said, "This audience doesn't need legalese." I said, "They understand names." The manager slid the check-in book to me. He said quietly, "Syrup." I said, "No, just the book." Neat black lines. No Pierce. I took a photo, the timestamp glowed. The light cooled. Sister whispered, "Mom, say something." Mother said, "Here's my statement." She nudged the necklace toward me, an inch, not a mile. Mother said, "Hold it for today. For the look." I said, "I'll hold it by law. For always." The ticket landed face down. Paper rasped linen. The latch clicked again, small and dry. The necklace. Cold thought. Their unity needs eyes. Colder, my proof needs none. Wednesday mail sat crooked on my mat. No return address. Heavy paper, 1 crease. I opened it with a butter knife. 1 typed paragraph, no greeting, no signature. Reconsider your position. Family can be generous discreetly. A photocopy of a draft without my name. Different font. Wrong date. I photographed it and saved it with the others. By sunset, an engine will idle at the lake house gate. I drove the pine road and needles ticked the windshield. The keypad blinked green for a second, then red. A contractor's truck sat inside already. Bed stacked with moving blankets. Father stood by the porch rail, phone to ear, voice lowered. Sister carried a target frame wrapped in a hand towel. The air thinned. Mother pushed the screen door like it was always hers. Mother said, "We're rearranging. Fresh start photos." I said, "Inventory. Then photos." A neighbor with a leash paused, pretending to tie a shoe. Sister set the velvet box on the console table. The necklace rested there. Threats fade. Paper doesn't. Father said, "Don't make this ugly." I said, "Ugly is erasing the eldest on a weekday." Mother said, "We offered a generous arrangement." I said, "You offered silence." The contractor slid a box across wood. The sound was tired. In the kitchen, the china set waited in neat stacks, cream with a blue ring. A note read, "Keep photo day." Under it, in pencil, "Later." On the fridge, a printed caption draft, "Legacy forward." I took a photo. The timestamp glowed. "Before dusk, a camera will blink and keep us still." Sister said, "We can share, Nora." I said, "We can document." Mother said, "You're punishing everyone for being practical." I said, "I'm naming everyone for being precise." Through the screen, the lake threw back white light. The HOA manager came up the steps with a clipboard. He said, "Is this a scheduled move?" Father said quickly, "Just staging." I said, "No removal approved until the attachment is logged." Mother's fingers pressed the velvet lid, firm and possessive. "The necklace. In 1 hour, a trunk will open and stay open." The manager read the memo I handed him, 2 pages for bullets. He said, "We log by serial photo and initials. Today." Mother said, "That's absurd." I said, "It's orderly." Sister rolled the target frame in bubble wrap. The hallway light cooled. I set the lake house photo beside the velvet, grandmother's open palm. Sister glanced, then looked away like it was too bright. Father said, "You're making a show." I said, "You started a show. I'm ending a dispute." The contractor hovered with empty hands. He said to the manager, "Do we wait?" The manager said, "We wait." Mother's mouth pressed thin. The screen door sighed in the heat. The latch lifted and breathed. The necklace. The lake held the light and gave nothing back. At dusk, the gate camera will blink and save the minute. Mother tried sweetness with hard words. Mother said, "Be reasonable. We'll say it was your idea." I said, "I like facts better than favors." Sister said, "This is exhausting." I said, "Truth usually is." The manager raised his clipboard. He said, "Sign to acknowledge itemized custody." Mother didn't move. Father watched the lake, not the line. Sister's thumb tapped the velvet like a habit she couldn't stop. I steadied the paper with my palm. The pen knocked once, small and metallic. The latch answered, dry and exact. "The necklace," I said quietly. "Threats fade. Paper doesn't." Cold thought, they stage rooms for eyes. Colder. I stage records for time. County records smelled like toner and floor wax. Take a number slips curled in a plastic tray. A clerk's bell sat by a sign, photo ID ready. By noon, a nameplate will shift 1 slot down. I pulled a ticket and sat near the window. Mother and father stood by the map of districts. Sister leaned against a pillar, phone half raised, screen dim. The velvet box rested in mother's tote, edge of the lid just visible. I flattened my envelope on my knees and waited for my number. The air thinned. The speaker crackled. 72. I stood. The clerk glanced at the stack in my hands. She said, "Filing an attachment?" I said, "Recording it." Mother stepped closer, a smile for the room, not for me. "In 2 hours, a door will open for one person only." The clerk said, "Show me the earliest dated copy." I slid the notarized page under the glass. She read, then checked the index screen. She said, "We can add the cross-reference today." Mother said, "We prefer to consolidate under our brand custodian." The light cooled. I said, "Cross-reference to the eldest. Full stop." Father said, "We'll manage optics." I said, "You'll manage prints." Sister said, "Mom." The clerk rang the bell once. A supervisor came out with a stamp. "Threats fade. Paper doesn't." The supervisor said, "Earliest date controls." He set the stamp down and lined it with the box. Mother said, "We're here in good faith." I said, "So am I." The stamp came down once, clean and final. By evening, a safe deposit box will have a new card in front. The supervisor said, "Do you need copies certified?" I said, 3. He fed the pages and blue seals rose like small moons. Sister shifted the tote. The lid knocked the side. The necklace. Mother's smile thinned, then returned, polished and empty. The speaker crackled again in the far corner. A couple argued softly about a deed. A baby fussed and slept. The clerk slid my set under the glass with a receipt. She said, "This one governs." I said, "File it on top." The light cooled again. Mother said softly. Nora, be gracious. I said. I'm being exact. Father said. Think about future donors. I said. I think about future audits. Sister lifted the tote higher like weight alone could settle names. I turned and walked to the bulletin board. A row of plastic nameplates listed custodians by parcel. I raised my phone. One photo. Then one more closer. I said. Done. Mother's heels clicked behind me, fast then slower. In 1 minute, you will hear it and remember it. At the exit, the door hinge gave a small dry complaint. The clerk's bell rang once behind us and stopped. Outside, the crosswalk beeped, steady and indifferent. I touched the envelope edge. It didn't bend. Cold thought. Their message needed a room. Colder. My record needed only the date. The bank lobby hummed with quiet voices and shoe squeaks. A pin on a chain tapped the counter and stopped. A dome camera watched the safe deposit corridor like an eye. Before closing, the vault light will blink once, not twice. I stood at Safe Deposit Services. The banker said. Name on the card? I said. Nora Whitfield. He slid the signature card under glass and squared a blue desk mat. Mother and father arrived together. Sister followed with the tote. The velvet edge showed. The air thinned. Mother said. We're here to streamline access. Father said. Family business moves quickly. I said. Custody follows record, not speed. Sister set the tote on the counter. The necklace knocked softly inside. The banker checked the terminal, lips moving with each field. Tomorrow morning, one email will land without greeting. He said. Earliest governing attachment recorded. Cross-reference added. Mother said. We're adding a brand custodian. I said. We're keeping the eldest. Father said. We'll note exceptions. The banker glanced up once and printed a fresh card. Threats fade. Paper doesn't. He said. Primary Nora Whitfield. Secondary access requires primary present. Mother smiled for the room, not for me. Mother said. We prefer flexibility. I said. We prefer accuracy. Sister's phone lit with a blank caption draft and went dark again. The card slid to my side. Stayed there. The banker stood and gestured toward the vault. He said. Keys, please. Mother produced a brass key on a ribbon. I set down mine, notched and older. The guard buzzed us through. The door breathed cold air across our faces. In 10 minutes, a key will turn and not open. The vault hallway was carpeted thin. Numbers glowed above small doors. Sister said. This is unnecessary. I said. This is necessary. Father said. Don't be rigid. I said. Be exact. At box 79, the banker lifted the panel. He said. Primary first. I turned my key steady and slow. The lock accepted it with a dull, certain sound. He slid the long drawer onto a table and stepped aside. Mother said. We'll just confirm contents. I said. We'll log contents. Sister's thumb found the tote latch by habit. The banker held a form. He said. Describe item entering the box. I opened the tote. The velvet sat inside, neat and still. Sister said. Mom. Mother said. For safekeeping. For the brand. I said. For the record. The banker waited with a capped pen. I set the velvet on the table. I didn't open it. I said. Family necklace, sapphire, known as the heart piece. He wrote in careful block letters. He said. Signature under description. I signed. Then he turned the form toward Mother. Mother hesitated and took the pen. Mother said. We sign as brand custodians. I said. Sign as witnesses. Father said. We don't need to be dramatic. The guard shifted his weight and watched the corridor. Threats fade. Paper doesn't. The banker stamped the form. He said. Primary controls access. Secondary cannot open without primary. Sister reached for the drawer. Sister said. Let me check it. He said. Only primary may handle the box. Before closing, the vault light will blink once, not twice. Mother set her ribbon key into box 81 and turned. The lock gave nothing back. She tried again. The ribbon trembled. He said. That box is restricted until a separate matter clears. Father said softly. We'll circle back. I placed the velvet inside 79 and slid the drawer shut. The banker locked it with the long rod and stepped back. The vault door moved on its track, slow and heavy. The pin on the chain tapped twice against the counter outside. Cold thought, they bring keys for show. Colder. I bring the one the lock knows. Donor night at the medical museum smelled like citrus polish and rented glassware. A banner over the entry read, Legacy Forward. A volunteer at the podium checked names against a tablet. The MC's cue cards were bent at one corner. By morning, a press photo will run with the right caption. Mother moved through guests like a host. Father shook hands with a board chair. Sister set the tote under a display case labeled family symbol. I stood by the catering table, napkins folded into tight squares. The necklace waited in the velvet, unseen but present. The air thinned. The MC said, Tonight, the Whitfield family. Mother lifted her chin, practiced and smooth. I said to the volunteer, Where's the loan agreement binder? She handed a gray folder with a plastic spine. I flipped to the last page and slid in a certified copy. Before the keynote ends, a mic will cut mid-sentence. Father said, Nora, join us on stage. I said, We'll do this at the case. Sister said, You'll get your photo. I said, I'll get the paper. The MC beckoned the family toward the low platform. The display case held old stethoscopes and a heart model. A small plaque space was empty, 2 screws waiting. Mother whispered, We'll announce a family loan. I said, We'll announce a documented loan. Sister bent to the tote latch by reflex. Threats fade. Paper doesn't. The curator approached with a white glove tucked into her belt. She said, Do we have the signed loan form? I opened the binder to the page with the blue seal. She read line by line and nodded once. The binder shut with a soft thud. That was the line. By midnight, a board email will ask for one clarification. Mother said, Just hand it to me. I said, You'll place it after the curator. Father said, This isn't adversarial. I said, It's orderly. Sister's phone hovered, camera ready. The curator put on the glove and waited. I lifted the velvet, level and calm. The necklace caught the stage light and threw it back once. Gasps rose and settled like birds. The MC turned, sensed the moment and yielded the floor. Mother reached toward the velvet. Mother said, On behalf of the Whitfield brand. I said, On behalf of the recorded custodian. The mic on Mother's dress hissed and dropped 3 decibels. A volunteer glanced at the soundboard and froze. The curator cleared her throat. She said, The museum acknowledges a loan from the custodian, Nora Whitfield. Applause started in one corner and spread, unsure at first, then firm. Sister lowered her phone. The record dot went gray. Father's smile flattened and held. Mother tried sweetness again, thin over metal. Mother said, We're all one name here. I said, That name is Whitfield. Mother said, For the brand. I said, For the record. The curator set the necklace in the case and closed it. 2 screws turned. The plaque clicked into its holders. The volunteer read aloud, On loan from the custodian, Nora Whitfield. The glass kept the light. The plaque kept the name. The MC said, Thank you, Nora. Before the keynote ends, a mic will cut mid-sentence. Mother stepped forward to finish a line she'd practiced. The mic popped once and went silent. The room held its breath for 2 seconds and adjusted. The photographer's flash washed the case and found the plaque. Cold thought. Their message needed a stage. Colder. My paper needed only the glass. Thanks for listening. 1 click subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow.